I'd like to call this regular council meeting of June 14th to order. First item on the agenda is public hearing for zoning amendment bylaw number 2111, and that is 108 4th Street East. I just have a public hearing statement to read. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act. At this public hearing, the public will be allowed to make representations to council, and all persons present who believe their interests are affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given the opportunity to address council or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. Those of you who wish to speak concerning the proposed bylaw should commence your address to council by clearly stating your name and address. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. Please observe the rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members today is to listen to the views of the public. It's not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views heard. In considering the proposed bylaw, council has received documents which may influence its decision. These documents are available for review in a binder located at the sign-in table or alternatively on the city's website. Before I begin, may I have the corporate officer confirm that all due process was followed according to the Local Government Act?
Yes, Your Worship, all process was followed. I did not receive any other additions.
Okay, before we begin, declare conflict. This is around the vacation rental industry.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duke. We have no one, I believe, on the speaker's list, but I will be calling for comments from the public. Does that answer your question? Okay. And before we move farther, I'd like to ask Mr. Strachan gives a presentation for us.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very briefly, as noted, subject application is for 108 4th Street. The application is to rezone the subject property from R2 to R2V to allow for the vacation rental use, which is a subzone in that zoning district. The applicant is proposing for a 4-bedroom vacation rental. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Strachan. So not having a speaker list, I'll go right to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make any comments on this? Eileen, if you wouldn't mind standing up and stating your name. If you wouldn't mind coming to the podium, that makes it easier. Name and address, please, Eileen.
Eileen Fletcher, 415 Mackenzie Avenue. I believe you already have a letter from me in your council package, so these comments are in addition to what's in the letter. I would like to speak to the opportunity that has been lost in the handling of this application. This new vacation rental use in Heritage Conservation Area was an opportunity to encourage new development and protect the area's heritage values, both at the same time. Although this property is in the conservation area, it is not on the list of protected properties in Appendix 4 of the OCP, but it is very eligible to be on that list of protected properties in the conservation area. If you look at the checklist at the bottom of the rezoning application form that's in the council package, you can see that, quote, property affected by heritage designation has been checked. Yet this check mark did not trigger any city response to integrate heritage values with development and community planning. This property is just one of several new businesses in historic buildings where the opportunity has been missed. Apparently, council has not provided the necessary direction to staff to proactively address community heritage planning. So what is the missed opportunity? Development on this property could include restoration of the exterior, an addition to the building, a caretaker's residence in an accessory building, and changes to the site layout for parking, in addition to the new vacation rental use. There are several tools in the Heritage Management Toolkit that could roll all of this development potential into a single permit and protect the heritage values at the same time. The most obvious tool would be a heritage revitalization agreement, such as the RFP for Mountain View School offers proponents the opportunity to negotiate a heritage revitalization agreement. Implementation of a heritage revitalization agreement requires a good understanding of Revelstoke's unique heritage values. It appears that knowledge of our heritage values has been lost, or perhaps there is just no will or capacity. New suburban-style building forms, contemporary roof lines, and oversized additions have recently appeared in the Heritage Conservation Area. The opportunity to negotiate sympathetic development was missed. In Revelstoke, the tools for managing heritage conservation and supporting sympathetic development were in place when the Heritage Conservation Area was established. These tools were moved to a dark corner when the form-based bylaw approach was initiated. We do not need to reinvent the tools for managing our heritage, we only need to reinstate them. That requires direction from council. Prior to the last election, I met individually with most of the councillors sitting at the council table now. Everyone assured me that Revelstoke's heritage is very important to the future of the community, our community identity, and a sustainable tourism economy. It's been a year and a half since the election. It's time for the city to reconfirm its commitment to ongoing and proactive management of our built heritage. Thank you.
Question, Eileen, is that, has that letter been sent by email to anybody?
No.
Can we get a copy of that?
Sure.
I would like to recommend that that get sent to planning committee to talk about. I think there's a couple of points in there that are well taken, and I'm not going to speak for all the council on this because it's more of a personal thing, but I take heritage very seriously, and I think that if there's opportunities for us to be looking at it, then we should be. You got any other comments on this rezoning application?
No, as you can tell from my letter, I'm in support of the rezoning application.
Okay, thank you. Looking for more comments or any other comments from the public on it? Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Judy Goodwin with the Chamber of Commerce. I just want to make a quick comment regarding Rich, who's the applicant for the rezoning. He has come in and chatted with us several times at the Chamber about coming to...
Wait. You're on the wrong...
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is 4th Street. Now we know why you're tired. I couldn't help but say that to you, sorry. Looking for comments from the public on zoning amendment bylaw number 2111. This is 108 4th Street East. Is the public hearing that we're on, vacation rental. Is there any comments from the public? Before I close this public hearing, I'll call 3 times for any further speakers on any of the matters contained in the proposed bylaw. So I will call for the first time if there is anyone who wishes to make any further representation. I'll call for a second time if anyone wishes to make any further representation. This is zoning amendment bylaw 2111, 108 4th Street East. And for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any representations on this proposed zoning amendment bylaw? I'd like to entertain a motion to close this public hearing. Councillor Nixon, Councillor English, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Now move into public hearing for official community plan amendment bylaw number 2113. And what?
Your Worship, there's a couple other resolutions in relation to the public.
Oh, sorry.
Your Worship, I'll bring forward that zoning bylaw number 2111 be read a third time.
Motion by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor English. Discussion on that motion. Councillor Brothers.
Just a question, Your Worship, on what you brought, or the comments you made. Is there any need to add anything to the zoning bylaw dealing with that heritage? Is that, or are you just referring it to staff for input and that type of thing?
Well, I just think that it'd be real difficult for, unless council is so inclined to make a motion in that regard, but I just don't think that everybody around the table has the information, and that's why I wanted to send it to committee to get information. So unless somebody's prepared to do something about it right this second, I'm only dealing with motion, so I just think that it is worthwhile going to planning and having a discussion about it, but I don't think this is the appropriate place for it.
And sorry, Your Worship, I'm just a little confused. Are you suggesting that if we need to deal with what you were suggesting, we have to amend the bylaw, or is it just something independent?
Mr. Strachan.
Your Worship, what's being referenced is updates that are needed in the official community plan. There's a number of components related to heritage that were in the official community plan, and during the last update were removed and would be considered for reinserting back into the OCP through the review process later this year. It's not directly related to the application before council, but as a general OCP update that's necessary and will be supported by staff. We would prepare a report based on the data that's been provided, as well as previous memos that we brought forward to council related to not only this topic, but also the heritage register, which was inadvertently removed from the OCP.
Just, Your Worship, just a comment, there are letters in our package that are, against this rezoning, but there are many, many neighbors that signed up and supported the rezoning, so this component has done their work ahead of time.
Thank you for pointing that out. The motion on the floor is to approve the zoning amendment bylaw on third reading. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. We have one other last motion.
Your Worship, I'll bring forward that zoning bylaw number 2111 be adopted.
Motion by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor English. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now we're moving into public hearing for official community plan amendment bylaw number 2113, and this has to do with 1502 Mountain View Drive. And again, this public hearing is being convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act. At this public hearing, the public will be allowed to make representations to council, and all persons present who believe their interests are affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given the opportunity to address council or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. Those of you who wish to speak concerning this proposed bylaw should commence your address to council by clearly stating your name and address. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. Please observe the rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chair. Members of the council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members today is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views heard. In considering the proposed bylaw, council has received documents which may influence decision. These documents are available for review in a binder located at the signing table or alternatively on the city's website. Before we begin, may I have the corporate officer confirm that all due process was followed according to the Local Government Act?
Yes, Your Worship, all due process was followed. I do have one submission from the Advisory Planning Commission. So I'll read out the resolution that was made on June the 7th. That the Advisory Planning Commission supports the official community plan amendment and rezoning application for 1502 Mountain View Drive.
Thank you.
For your information.
We do have a speakers list that has been established. If you wish to address the hearing, please ensure that your name has been placed on the list located at the signing table. You may add your name to the list at any time. Each speaker's initial presentation will be limited to 5 minutes, provided the comments are relevant to the issues at hand and the hearing is not being obstructed. This initial time limit is to allow everyone a fair opportunity to address council respecting the proposed bylaw amendment. After everyone on the speakers list has spoken once, speakers will be allowed a supplementary 3-minute presentation, which will be limited to additional comments to what was previously presented, so that everyone that wishes to speak may. And in your supplementary presentation, please do not repeat the comments made in your initial presentation. And again, I do have a speakers list here, and again, I will be going out to the public for at least 3 times for any additional comments from people that are not on the speakers list. Mr. Selvig, you have a presentation for us?
Yes, briefly.
Thank you.
As noted, the subject property is located at 1502 Mountain View Drive. The proposed bylaw amendments are being requested to permit commercial hostel use with a single caretaker residence. As noted, the APC supported the bylaw amendments at their meeting on June 7th. And as proposed, the comprehensive development zone 19 will prevent future subdivision, provide landscape buffer requirements, and decrease the permitted height and density from what is currently permitted in the existing P3 institutional district. I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. So we do have the proponent here, Mr. Nybakken, and he has indicated that he does wish to speak. Mr. Nybakken, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium.
Thank you, Your Worship. Richard Nybakken, Spruce Grove, Alberta. I'd just like to begin by reading an open letter I've had submitted to the council with my application. Council members and residents, as you may know, the property at 1502 Mountain View Drive, previously Lutheran Church of Resurrection, is listed for sale. I have ambitions to rezone the property and convert this building into a guest house for short-term accommodations. I'm writing this letter to introduce myself to those local to Revelstoke I have not had a chance to connect with yet. I would also like to share with you a dream of mine that may relate to one you once had. Currently, I'm taking precarious steps in making this dream a reality. I'd like to take this opportunity to make clear my intentions and also lend an ear for feedback from those who may have questions or concerns. Although it's always unfortunate to hear of such a positive gathering space have to close its doors, it also creates an exciting opportunity to attract alternative benefits to the local area. I will strive to create a quiet place of rest that appeals to the outdoor adventure demographic, where people come from all over the world to appreciate what Revelstoke and the Columbia Mountain Ranges have to offer. Journey's Perch will provide a place where like-minded travelers can share stories and exchange experiences while resting or preparing for full days of activities in the area. This building and its location are near perfect for a space like this and would provide a minimal transition. I intend to leave the building as it stands. However, I would renovate the interior to better suit the needs of an upscale guest house. This would include the construction of 5 rooms for guests, both private and dorm styles, as well as communal washrooms and showers. In the future, I wish to build an outdoor patio to the west side of the building along Airport Way, as well as plant multiple trees and hedges along property lines to provide privacy to neighbors. A storage shed for lawn equipment on the north side of the property would also need to be built in. The property already provides ample parking to accommodate our guests. I want to ensure you I have no intentions of developing this property beyond my intended purpose. You should not expect to hear nor notice any more noise or activity than the average neighbor in a residential area. Like most who have found themselves here, my life partner and I had fallen in love with Revelstoke in the area the first time we arrived. We have dreams of bringing business to Revelstoke, starting a family, and being active members of the community. It excites us to help others experience more and get the most possible out of their time in Revelstoke. Our experiences from staying in similar accommodations abroad better our understanding of the advantages to local business and tourists from having more available accommodations. I understand Revelstoke has a shortage of such places, and I truly believe the city would benefit from a project such as this. The process of rezoning this property for this purpose requires the approval of neighbors and city council members alike. This dream of ours requires the cooperation of nearby residents, and we would greatly appreciate your input in this matter. I was born and raised in a rural area in Stony Plain. I'm an electrician by trade. I've been in the industry almost 10 years. I'm currently studying some business schooling as well through NAIT. My partner Michelle, she couldn't be here today as her Tuesday is her busiest day with her clients. She's a registered dental assistant. She studied at Vancouver Island University. She's also starting her job here in Revelstoke at the beginning of August at a local dentist here. After spending over a decade, exploring and vacationing in BC, as well as living briefly in a few areas, we finally discovered our home after spending a winter season here in 2013, 2014. We fell in love with the energy and the enthusiasm of the community in Revelstoke. I would never take the beauty of this province for granted, but a friend in the Coonies once told me, you can't just show up and take it all in. You have to bring something special to contribute to the charm of the area. I believe Journey's Perch is something perfect for Revelstoke. I just would like to thank council and residents for being so welcoming and helpful. It's an absolute honor and such an experience to be involved in an exciting time in Revelstoke.
Thank you. The first name that I have on the speakers list, they didn't indicate if they wish to speak or not, is Dawn and Di Watt. Do they wish to speak?
No, that's fine.
Okay, well, you will have lots of opportunity if you change your mind, sir. Mickey and Dale Rear.
Mickey, Dale, it's the same person. Hi, I'm Mickey Dale Rear. I live at 1509 Mountain View Drive, kitty corner from the Lutheran Church. And I am not in support of a youth hostel. And as John and Marcia Woods also wrote to you, the best available combination and business licensing that retains our neighborhood values seems appropriate. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mickey. George Goodwin.
Honorable Mayor and Council, my name is George Goodwin. I live at 1509 Mountain View Drive since June 2nd of 2006. 1502 Mountain View Drive rezoning. The purpose of hostels is mainly to provide lower expenses desired by many transit persons on limited budgets. Arrow Heights has a very low crime rate, low traffic, low noise level. Residents wish to keep it a quiet, responsible, safe, and enjoyable place for all. The proposed parking lot guarantees more traffic with a reduced safety. A child care home and some local children are within 100 meters of the proposed hostel. The intention of installing hedges as either sound or visual barring suggests that it's already a known fact that a hostel is not wanted there and would be intrusive. A verbal survey has been made, and the results have not been made public. At that time, I did not care. However, I have changed my opinion, and most, if not all, who were surveyed are opposed. A sun deck planned to face Airport Way would be a fine place to party. RCMP have contributed suggestions to make it safer. And they should be consulted on what crimes have been committed in Revelstoke by transients. Theft of groceries, sports equipment, vehicles, etc. This is not to suggest that all transients are criminals. In fact, very few are. Yes, Revelstoke is a fine, close-knit community, and we should keep it that way rather than allow a business to hurt Revelstoke or any part thereof. Rezoning for the purpose of installing a hostel at 1502 Mountain View Drive should be denied because it's such an unreasonable request. Note, Revelstoke is not obligated to have a hostel. It is an invitation for low income and homeless. Should council desire more time to consider this, it is then suggested that the act of rezoning be tabled. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Pajowski is next on the speaker's list.
Ed Pajowski at 1506 Mountain View Drive. First of all, let's call it what it really is. It's a hostel. It's not what's he calling it there? Anyway, I did send a letter to council already, and I'll just read part of it here. As I understand it, Rick Nybakin will require a business license to operate a hostel in 1502 Mountain View Drive. This business license could be pulled by the city at any time, resulting in a shutdown of the hostel. I am aware that there have been numerous complaints of noise in Revelstoke already regarding sledders, parties late into the night, and firing up the machines in early hours of the morning. So my questions are, may the city explain the procedure of pulling a business license due to complaints concerning noise and safety in our neighborhood? And my second question is, may the city please provide examples from the past where business licenses have been pulled due to similar complaints? The city can't assure the neighborhood's current residents, especially the family living directly next to the lot in question, who happens to have young children, that the noise will absolutely not escalate and that safety will not become an issue. I would strongly have to oppose the rezoning of the said lot and any such business being placed there. Thank you.
I'm not sure if you had any response to any of the questions that Mr. Bajowski had about numbers of complaints and business licenses, things like that.
Your worship, we're here to answer questions.
Okay.
I did submit my letter Friday, so I was hoping everyone had a chance to.
Well, everybody's read the letter yet. Any comments from council? I guess I guess looking at what he's doing here, it would be in a similar category to a vacation rental, and we've talked about that over the last few weeks, and it seems to me that last year we were talking like 5 or 6 complaints. Now, anecdotally, I think individually get complaints about vacation rental, but actual legitimate complaints that go to the city to go through the process, there's probably only been 5 or 6 last year. So I'm assuming with 5 or 6 complaints spread through the community that there wouldn't have been anybody's business license pulled because there isn't enough complaints unless they're all directed at one party and one business and they're serious complaints. But I don't think of any instance where a business license has been pulled. The staff can help me on that.
Your worship, no, I'm not aware of any business licenses that are revoked. It would be a last resort action. So if all other actions were exhausted, for compliance or noise or not operating according to the city's bylaws and regulations, that would be a last resort. So I don't think that's a failure of process necessarily, as other actions that have been taken have resulted in compliance. in advance of having to take drastic measure of action on revoking the business license.
And I think with the development that's being talked about here as well, Ed, is that there will be a caretaker on site full-time, which is different than a lot of vacation rentals. So me personally, I see that as going a long way to dealing with complaints before they happen.
It's just, you read Jason's letter, Jason Portra?
Yes.
Couldn't be here. He's the one with the 2 young children, and their bedroom is, it's right next to the parking lot. So, as far as I know, a lot of the sledders like to fire up their machines the first thing in the morning, and a lot of them like to come in late at night. And I think he did note in his letter the hours. Basically, his children go to bed at 8:30 at night. They're going to hear those sleds. And first thing in the morning, they're going to get woken up to those sleds. So I think there's going to be complaints there, and because it's going to be an on-rolling, it's not going to be the same sledders all the time. There'll be sledders coming in every week. And trying for this caretaker to get through them, they can't fire up their machines there. Because every time they fire, now you've heard those machines, they're loud. They're very loud. And this is the parking lot's right next to their house. As far as I'm concerned, I can close my windows and I can get through that. But those kids, that's a different story.
Well, I think it's a point that should be well taken by the proponent who's here listening to this. And, I would hope and assume that anybody who wants to be in this kind of business, whether it's this style or vacation rental, the number one message that I try to send to the public is to be a good neighbor. And it's easier to be a good neighbor when you're actually living on site in the neighborhood as well. So, but I think the point is very well taken, and I did read the letter a couple times, and there's some comments in there that I know have been circulated to the staff and to all council brothers.
Is it appropriate for me to ask a question about Mr. Portras's letter that has been raised by Mr. Budusky at this particular time, or is it?
You can do whatever you want.
So it's just questions of staff with respect to Mr. Portras's letter. He raises, or he makes some suggestions about how he feels there might be some way of alleviating some of the concerns or whatever. Has that been addressed by staff at all, or looked at by staff? He's got six statements here about how he feels that maybe this will alleviate the problem, and I'm just wondering whether or not that's been reviewed by staff and what are the comments with respect to that.
Well, I think part of council's job here today is to listen to these points, look at the letter, and if council thinks that some of these points are paramount or very important, then that's council's job is to point it out and have staff do that. Have staff actually made recommendations on some of these points? I think that after today, depending on how council feels, we'll decide that. Any other comments, Mr. Budusky?
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a couple other people on here that have said that they don't wish to speak at this time, but I've gone through the speakers list and the floor is open for any comments from the public. And that would include anybody that's already spoken. Somebody has their hand up and somebody's coming to the mic.
Thanks. Judy Goodman with the Chamber of Commerce. I have met with Rich on several occasions to talk about, before he even made an offer on the property, he came in and talked about the community and how he wanted to be here with Grace's family and be part of our community. I do think that his intentions are for a higher level of traveler, someone who really is activity focused and probably will be in bed fairly early too, because they're going to be skiing and doing things. And he's living on site as well, and I do believe that his intentions are very good and that this would be a successful business. Thank you.
But I also think it's worthwhile pointing out that zoning goes with the property, and if Mr. Nijbock decides to sell, that's why it's important to have any items that council thinks is important to alleviate concerns of the neighborhood. Then council has that right to be asking for that. But I don't disagree with your comments, Judy, but again, the zoning stays with the property and for future owners. Poppy, you wanted to speak? Would you just come up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Poppy Reiner, 313 First Street East. I have Poppy's Guest House. When I first came to town, I called it Poppy's Private Room Hostel, and I found that there was such a preconception against hostels and the people who go to hostels that I actually changed my name. So I absolutely understand the people in the neighborhood who are concerned. I've been running my hostel for 8 years now. I live on site. Very often the people who come are very pleased to know that I am on site. They themselves are relieved that the problems that are going to be shut down. I find that people who come are very activity oriented. They want to go to bed early. They want to get up early and ski the next day, ride the next day. When I was fixing my place up, everybody told me, don't fix it up. It's going to be broken or stolen. Everything's going to be broken or stolen. And I found it was absolutely opposite. I fixed my place up. People were very respectful. I've only had one time. I've never had the police call. I've had 2 times, in the whole 8 years that I've ever had to shut down a problem. I've had neighbors come to me and thank me for keeping everything quiet, that they were surprised at how quiet my place was. And in fact, that I've been quieter than some of the neighbors. I don't know the proponent at all. I just heard him speak. I think that he has the same kind of values as I do. And I think that this would be a benefit to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Floor is open for any comments from the public.
Question?
Yes?
It was suggested that if the business didn't meet the requirements, that a business license could be pulled. Would that not leave the situation open to court cases?
From the proponent suing the city, is that what you're getting at? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the business suing the city.
I don't know. I guess it all depends on the reason why it was closed and if they disagree. Everybody has a right to sue people if they want to. I can't think of a case where the city has been sued for doing that.
Well, all I'm saying is that it was suggested that if the business doesn't meet requirements, their business license could be pulled. And I think it leaves the things open to drag it out.
Well, every business has to renew their business license every year. So it's not, they have to come in and renew it. And if there's an issue.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, sorry, I forgot because I was nervous. I hate speaking in public. During those 8 years, no sledders have come. Sledders don't like hostels. It's not their kind of accommodation. So I understand the problem with the snowmobiles. It's not a problem at my place for 8 years, never once.
Before closing this public hearing, I'll call 3 times for any further speakers on any of the matters contained in the proposed bylaw. Yes, Rick.
Yeah, what has been mentioned multiple times today, this building is an extension of our home. We will be living on site full-time, and another thing with a business like this is it's mostly based on reviews from other guests. Online media is a huge thing now, TripAdvisor, people visiting. You want to keep things quiet, up to snuff, a welcoming, warm place, and that's our intentions. I can't guarantee or promise that people like sledders aren't going to book with us. What's been mentioned is they generally like to stick with the hotels on the highway and whatnot. I do have full control over the business that we run, and we do create the vibe that is and the environment that is available for the guests. And my full intention is to keep it a quiet place, like it's somebody's their cousins or their relatives' backyard. That's the beauty and the appeal of this property in particular. It does provide that space away from downtown.
Thank you.
And yeah, the business is registered a guest house as well. I originally at first was thinking the same thing, that there's some negative connotations that come with it, where get hostile, so it is registered Journey's Perch Guest House. That helps. Thank you.
For the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representations? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representations? And this is zoning amendment bylaw number 1264, and that's 1502 Mountain View Drive. For the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representations? Seeing none, I am looking for a motion to close this public hearing. Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Orlando. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And there is another motion there, if anybody's so inclined to make it.
Yes, I'm going to bring this motion forward. The official community plan amendment bylaw number 2113 be read a third time.
Motion by Councillor Duke, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Brothers.
Again, I'd like to raise some of the questions that I have with respect to Mr. Porteous' letter and see whether or not, I'd like to get Mr. Strachan's comments on some of these if he can at this time. Mr. Strachan, one of the things that Mr. Porteous has said, is it possible to have an entranceway? The entranceway is through Mountain View, so he goes through, people are going to have to go through Mountain View in order to get into the entrance of the property itself, as I understand it. Any possibility, or is it viable to have the entranceway somewhere else, on Mountain, on McKinnon, or on some other area?
Your worship, the best access location is off of the existing access. There's a topographical limitation to come out of Airport Way, as well as adding additional access points on Airport Way is not ideal. Again, there's a slope to go off to McKinnon, and we're very close to the intersection at that point.
I believe there was concern from the RCMP about changing the access points as well. Go ahead.
Follow up on the letter, he also mentions that he'd like to see an alleyway to be built and maintained by the owner that allows only pedestrian and bicycle access between the two properties, with fences no more than 6 feet high on both sides. I'm not too sure where that is. I don't know whether you know, Mr. Strachan, where that is, or whether you have any comments with respect to that.
They're asking for is a public walkway connection between the end of the roadway and Airport Way. So it would be something that the city would be then responsible to maintain.
Is it that way, or is it the other way down to McKinnon? Because that's what I thought was what was being
It's a
talked about.
public access through the property.
Right. I guess the concern that I would defer to comments from the RCMP is that, you know, you're putting up fences and shrubbery and things like that, and to me, they may create areas of security and safety concerns, and I would have to, I could see the point about shrubbery for buffer and things, but those should be against the fence or against the property line rather than creating a hidden walkway. That would be my concern. Mr. Strachan.
Your worship, anytime that you're creating a space where there's not eyes from the street and eyes from the houses, you're creating an opportunity for issues.
Councillor Nixon.
Just want to make sure that staff, when they're working with the proponent, should this pass, that they keep in mind the sidewalk planning and a chance for some really good separated bike lane there. There's quite a bit of land to work with. And maybe make sure that we look at some tourism infrastructure funds to connect Nickel Road all the way down to Bales Hill. So people are walking with their back to traffic, and they're walking in a safe, protected sidewalk. There's an opportunity to do that. And that was one of the RCMP requests on the piece of property.
Looking for any other comments or questions from council. Councilor Brothers.
Again, question, Mr. Strachan, if in fact that building were ever torn down, Mr. Strachan, what could be put there? What are we zoning it for ultimately?
You could replace it with the uses as per the zone. So we're only be permitted to have the use, which is a caretaker, and the hostel would be reconstructed without applying to rezone. So they would have to go through the public hearing process to rezone it for another use. If they wish to pursue anything other than reconstruction of a hospital caretaker.
But we have parameters in here that says what is the maximum height, maximum lot coverage, and things like that. And I think it's actually less than residential. Didn't we reduce the height to, or does it match residential? It's 10 and a half meters?
Site coverage is down to 50%, maximum floor space ratio is 0.75. And then our height.
It's 10.5 meters. Because it was zoned originally at 12. Councilor
Your
Nixon.
worship, just one further point on the deck that is planned for this proponent's proposal, if it goes through, is that deck should have a closing time to respect the neighborhood.
Okay, I just thought that it was good planning to have the deck on Nickel Road, which is away from the neighbors, especially because there is no, I don't think there's any neighbors across the street on Nickel Road. I don't think there is. Yeah. But that, you want to add that in as a recommendation, staff?
Yes.
How are we doing this? Are we doing this, like, we have a motion on the floor right now. And do we take these recommendations as motions, or how do we do it?
Well, Your Worship, I'm not sure I understand the intent of it. It's not intended to be a licensed patio. This property would be subject to provisions of the noise bylaw.
Okay.
Quiet hours between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. and 11 and 9 on Sundays. So you wouldn't want to start breaking down noise bylaws by particular properties in the community. It becomes really hard to enforce it with traffic.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I'm just looking for any additional comments from council. And where am I? This is zoning amendment bylaw, third reading. Any other comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And there is another item on the back if...
Yep, I'm gonna keep going here. I move that zoning amendment bylaw number 214 be read a third time.
Moved by Councilor Duke, second by Councilor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
And I move that zoning amendment bylaw number 2115 be read a third time.
Motion by Councilor Duke, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Souls.
Your Worship, just in dealing with the whole amendment and the planning for this property, I just want to make aware to the public that the council's read through all the letters and heard the words. I personally believe because there is a caretaker on site, that this would be a good project for this spot. I would have my concerns if there was not a caretaker on site, and I believe the caretaker to take his word that he would look after and mitigate any problems immediately. So in light of that, I would support this project.
Motion's on the floor. Any other discussion? Councilor Lando?
Yeah, Your Worship, to echo Councilor Souls' comments, that I have read through the letters that were submitted, and I appreciate the comments from those who expressed their concerns. I think we have a building that's not in use anymore, and something needs to be done with it. And I take the proponent's words at face value when he says he's going to be on site and be running a responsible business. And I think in addition to whatever authorities the city has to regulate, it comes down to a good neighbor thing, and I have confidence that we can have a good neighbor situation and work it out as proposed.
Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. That ends our two public hearings. We're going to take a 3 or 4 minute break. For those that do not want to enjoy the rest of our council meeting, could leave if they so choose. Of course, everyone is welcome to stay for the full duration if they desire.